Welcome, everybody, to another edition of the Sales Vitamin Podcast. Got a great episode for you today, something that you're going to get a lot of value from because telling your story is huge. How you tell it, how you talk to people, how you tell them what you do and how you do it is real important. And we've got an expert on today. Steve Brown is the creator, the owner of ROI Online, and he's also the host and creator of the ROI Online Podcast. So, Steve, I'm excited to have you on as an early guest to our podcast to talk about what you do and how you impact sales organizations and individual sales professionals.
No, I'm honored to be on. And I love that the host of this podcast has boss in his last name. He's putting the boss in podcasting, right?
That's
right
right.
here live. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Well, give the listeners a high-level idea of what you do and how you do it. And then I want to get into a lot of specifics. You've also got a pretty cool book, the Golden Toilet Book. The name itself is unique. So I want to talk about that some as well. But give the listeners an idea of what you do.
Yeah. So, business leaders, they struggle with the last hurdle. They start a business, they get it going, they get employees, they got great services, but that last hurdle is one day they look up and they go, we need to get our act together online. And that's confusing about where to start or who to trust. And so we have a really cool process. In just 120 days, we can leapfrog you over a couple of years of hit and misses and getting in the ditch. And we help you get your fundamentals in place. We help you get your messaging clear. We help you get set up in the automation, the technology of the day, your marketing automation, implement a CRM, which is one of the most important pieces. And then think about strategic campaigns in the right way. So we have like a semester. We get you settled in, get your fundamentals in place, get you educated, and show you how to drive it.
Yeah, and it's interesting when you look at that piece of it, the online piece, and telling the story. So you, from what I saw, you were one of the first, or maybe the original story brand.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what you would call it, organizations that represent that piece of the puzzle. So tell me a little bit about that and how that started.
So one of the hardest things to do for any leader or a parent or whomever is to clearly communicate and think about when you sit down and you want to set up your web presence, you want to get your messaging clear on your web page or your email. It's really hard to succinctly communicate the value, how to connect with people. And StoryBrand, I learned about StoryBrand from a friend. He's got a great book. Donald Miller's his name. He's got a great book called Building a Story Brand. And in short, it's just the 7 pieces that help you create your messaging that connects with people's brains. And it's our brains crave story. So how nice is to create your messaging that honors the rules of story. And so I went out there and went to one of the workshops, but I talked to Donald afterward and I said, hey, I want my agency to be certified. I don't want to just be a certified guide. I want to get my agency certified. And so we did. And so we were the original agency certified by StoryBrand.
Awesome. Yeah, I've seen that book. I've read it, and it's fantastic. I agree with you. Now, you have, what is a guide, a story brand guide? What does that individual or that entity do at your organization, and that value that they create for the sales side of this puzzle here?
That's a great question. So in story, the reason we enjoy story so much is because we get sucked in and relate with the hero. We start to relate to the experiences or kind of feel anxiety in certain situations. And that's because you're putting yourself in the place of the hero of the story. And often what's wrong with marketing or advertising or even sales for that matter is that we try to position our service as the hero. We try to say, we're 25% better or we're cheaper or whatever it is. But what we're messing up is we're trying to be the hero when the people that you're wanting to serve or help, they need to see how they fit in and become the hero with your product. And so it's called a guide. In every movie, every story, the heroes at some point get some advice or meets a donkey or reads this knowledge, and it gives them insight on how to start to maneuver or go through the challenges that they're facing. And so being a guide is doing the same thing for the people that want to implement clear messaging or implement the story brand framework. There's all these certified guides that have been trained in how to help you take your messaging, make it clear, and make it become the guide for the heroes in their stories.
Yeah, that is cool. When you go in to work with a company and you look at some of your case studies that are online, and I encourage all the listeners, go to the website, look at some of these case studies and look at it. What do you see where you come into play right off the bat, where you make a difference, or where do you see companies are struggling with this storytelling part of their business online?
Well, it's just if you're not naturally inclined to marketing or you're kind of new, generally most marketing is just a copycat version of something that they admire or like. But again, it's a picture of your building, your truck, your whatever, and it's not connecting with the people. So what you do is start to sit down and figure out why they started their business in the first place. Why did they design their services? Because they saw a need and someone um, affirmed their product or service because it made them happy and feel better because it resolved the problem. So if you can start to design your messaging, so we sit down and we go through a very specific process, but what we're wanting to understand is what are the internal struggles of the person that's considering what you offer. So in your case, John, in sales, if you're doing sales training, the one of the internal struggles might be that the salesperson is a little concerned that they're going to invest in this or go through this process, but still maybe fail or not get it. And so you have to help them see that you have a process or a plan. That's good. That's easy. Everybody feels that way. But if we follow these steps, we're going to come out with a transformation of going from insecure to secure, and because we're following a process. And that's one of the story brand frameworks, is offering a plan. But the reason that works is because you're starting to not be self-centered, but you're starting to have empathy and put yourself in the place of the folks that are considering you as a solution. And if you can understand what their concerns are, I don't want to waste money. I don't want to I don't want to fail. I don't want to look bad in front of my employer. If you can start to put yourself in their position and think about what they really are worried about, then you can help comfort them and show them that there's a process that we're going to get around that, and you're going to look like a winner to your boss. We're going to set you up with a system. You're going to be way better following a system than not following a system in the case of the sales process.
Yeah, I think most sales professionals, and I'd say me included, I've gotten better at it over the years. But when you're first digging in, telling a story, or not only being able to tell your story, but the organization's story, that can be a
Mm-hmm.
key differentiator.
Mm-hmm.
So the name, the ROI Online, I think sometimes
Mm-hmm.
people struggle with the fact that what's the return on that? How do I calculate the return on
Yeah.
you doing social media for me, or you putting my website together, and that, how do you talk through that with your customers?
Well, when I thought about the name for this agency, I could have been the Brown Agency. Wouldn't be as good as the Boss Song Agency,
Yeah.
but but I wanted to convey that I understand that internally, bottom line, you want to see the needle move from this investment. And so by naming the company that, immediately you're conveying, I understand that you want a return on this investment. There's a process that we have to follow to get that, but it's not always super obvious. Well, if I'm going to do this, I want a bunch of extra leads. Yeah, that I could assume that and not even ask you, but that wouldn't. What if you actually would like to be able to attract more employees? What if you'd like to be able to convey to your existing customers upgradable or improvements or additional complementary services? There's many things to consider in this. And so to sit back and go through a process where we start with the messaging first, well, that's going to include conversations. Tell me about your customers. What are they wrestling with? Why did you start the business in the first place? Where are you going in the long term? That these are things that most people, when they're wanting to make a sale right quick, they're just wanting to make a quota and move on and get the next one.
Right.
And and that's being the hero in your story. But if you stop and think, all right, I want to help John be successful, I need to take some time and understand what's his overall goal. I can assume, but I'm probably wrong, but I can assume this. But how about we do this? This is radical. Let's just ask him.
Yeah. Let's ask a question.
Yeah. And so a sales process becomes more of I want to connect with you. I want to understand you. I want to ask you a few questions, but I really want to listen to you for a while. And then when you feel that I understand and get you and what you want out of this, then how about you ask me the questions that you're curious about instead of me do a feature dump about stuff you may not even care about.
Yeah, absolutely. I saw you have a fairly talented staff, obviously, but a pretty good sized staff.
Mhm.
Are you virtual from that standpoint where you have people all over the country, or is this, you're all right where you are? How's your organization structured there?
Yeah. So, well, before this shelter in place thing, we had our core headquarters crew. Okay. But we also have like folks that are remote team members as well. And now we're all remote, but it
Right.
doesn't matter. I mean, they're all following the ROI process. We're all
Right.
following, our systems and things. So you can do that remotely. And really, I think a lot of businesses are confronting why do we need this office? Why do I need so much space when people can be just as effective and impactful? And if not, maybe a little more balance from working remotely.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you're 100% right. That has been a big pivot, and it's
Hmm.
just been exacerbated by what's going on.
Hmm.
Um, You do have a lot of certifications that I thought, wow, that's pretty good. Most of them, it seems, are HubSpot
Hmm.
centered and the story brand. Is that a long process that you have to go through to get those certifications for your team?
Well, there's an investment for sure, but HubSpot is a marketing automation platform. It's a publicly traded company, and it's a very sophisticated tool. And there's a lot of tools out there, and people can get real distracted about that. And so we just chose to be experts in that. And so there's the email side, there's the landing page side, there's the designing in your website side, there's the CRM side, the sales side. There's a lot of sides to it. And so the certifications are to communicate that it's important to us that our team are experts in the tool and can be a great resource for the folks that have invested in HubSpot or our clients who adopt HubSpot. It's just a great platform. It's like Chevrolet or Ford or whatever. You pick a vehicle to go forward with,
Yeah,
and we just chose that one because we like their culture and we think that it has long-term gain.
yeah. And I saw a unique product offering. You've got three basic products, I would call them, if you want to call them products. For example, company ABC.
Hmm.
They can either test drive, they can do an ROI quick start, or they can do a pro plan.
Yeah.
So talk about those programs and kind of where you when you're approaching customers or customers come to you, do you have to gauge, hey, here's where you fit
Mhm.
into our product plan or products and services?
Yeah. So, in relation to sales, a lot of times now people have done their homework, they've done investigations, they've been on your website, they studied, and
Yeah.
so they come somewhat pre diagnosed what they feel they need. And so the reason that I design those 3 packages is to help them start to consider where they might fit in that process. And then when I talk to them, that's where I'm really discerning. But you think about it's a risk. We've probably most of the people that are listening, they've been involved in some sort of web redesign. And it's not because our industry's evil or anything, but typically that experience was exhausting, frustrating, and something that they didn't enjoy. And it's because it's assumed that we're going to cover and get all the fundamentals in place, but we don't talk about that because we're wanting to. I worked for a web design firm before I started this, and I just kept noticing that people would come in and go, I need to redo my website. And so we would redo it, but later they would be like, well, that didn't do anything. And and I was thinking, well, why are they saying that? And what I started to discern is when they come in and say, we need to redo our website, what they're really saying is, I'm I'm seeing all these indicators that I need to get my act together online,
Right.
but I don't know exactly what I need to ask for. So I'm using the best words I know how to try to get something that's going to help move my business forward in the modern world of marketing. And that's when I started realizing I needed to back up instead of sell them what they wanted. I needed to start an educational process, and that's where the book comes in. But
Yep.
we need to get our fundamentals, and we need to have an understanding. They would say marketing. I'm saying marketing, but in our minds, we're seeing 2 very different animals. And that later on, you probably, we've all been in relationships where we thought we understood what the person was asking for, and we truly intended to provide whatever that was, tickets to Disneyland, and we were only shocked to learn, what did you do that for? Well, I thought you wanted tickets to Disneyland. No, I said Disney World. And and that same experience was happening with all these conversations at the agency level with business
Yeah.
owners, right?
Oh, yeah. And
So
I think that education piece is huge, and obviously you guys are dialed in on that, on educating the customer rather from a sales standpoint, rather than coming away with that feature dump and just trying to sell, sell, sell. You're educating.
yeah, so that quick start. Actually, we're rolling out here next week what we call a Quick Start Academy. And
Okay.
so the quick start is just to let's get your fundamentals in place. Everybody needs to get that. It's you see great brands doing great job online, and it convinces you need to do it. But what you don't realize is they have their fundamentals all in place. They have clear messaging. They've got a way to follow up or nurture you when you're not ready to buy, but you still want to hang around. They have a nice little system that, just scatters that out to you at the speed that you want it. And then when you do finally raise your hand and you're starting to meet face to face with folks, they have a great sales process that complements the marketing process. And then when they get all that in place, then they start running these campaigns. And that's usually where you bump into them. And I saw something on Instagram the other day, and you click on it and you go research it. Well, you're experiencing the top of a strategic campaign, and where you're kind of coming in and evaluating, they're getting to know you, they get your email address, they follow up with you. You see that cycle that starts to happen. Well, we need to do that. So anyway, Quick Start Academy teaches your marketing director how to do it for you, or you can hire us to just get your quick start in place, and we'll leapfrog you over that. Or after we get that quick start, if you want to hire us longer term and do more strategic campaigns, then that's where the pro plan comes into play.
Okay. Yeah. Talk about the book. You mentioned that
Yeah.
the name is the Golden Toilet Book. Where did that come from? But then talk about the book and
Yeah. So, I mentioned I had all these conversations with folks that coming in, and they kept saying, we need to redesign our website. And so even though you've probably struggled, and remember that you told the people you work with, or you told someone several times, and then later you learn that that still hasn't sunk in. Remember that when you go, I can't believe that even though I've told them, it hasn't sunk in. Well, we need to hear stuff 7 or 8 times before it sinks in. Or the other thing you can do is use a visceral image that tells a story that reframes the way we look at things. So these folks would keep coming in, and finally the website would be like the center of everything. And it's like, and all the attention would be on that, but that's not enough. And later you're going to tell me, well, that didn't really help anything, even though I gave you what you wanted. So I was thinking about it, and it's like, you wouldn't buy a house if it didn't have a toilet. You wouldn't work at an office if it didn't have a toilet. But when people come over to your house, where do you hang out? The kitchen, the patio, the pool, around the fireplace, right?
Right.
And so when I would say, look, your website's just a toilet. Okay. Well, you could hear the the scratches on the record, and that's their brain shutting down everything and going, what? And that's when you're reframing their expectation of it. It's a small piece of a bigger system. Clear messaging, marketing automation, sales automation, and strategic campaigns. And so the title is The Golden Toilet: Stop Flushing Your Marketing Budget into Your Website and Build a System that Grows Your Business. And I want people to not think website, but to think system. We all have systems in business.
Yeah.
You have your HR system, your billing system, your delivery system processes. Well, why wouldn't you have this as a process in the system? And when a progressive minded business owner looks at it from that way, then it starts to sink in how this marketing thing really is a legitimate business process that's going to help them move the needle.
Yeah. No, that is cool. And you've also got the ROI podcast.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the
And
ROI Online Podcast. Yeah, that's a great place. Here's what I've recognized. And every business owner, leader, whatever, there's these times when you just feel alone, and you kind of feel crazy because you're experiencing something that other people that you work with all the time maybe don't relate with, your employees or your spouses or whatever, because they're not experiencing the challenges a business leader has, right? And so the ROI Online Podcast is that those conversations. Remember that conversation you had with someone that had gone through the similar things that you did, and then you actually said, wow, I'm not crazy. Well, that's what happens on the conversations with the ROI Online Podcast. You figure out, oh, I'm not alone. I'm
yeah,
not crazy. Other people are going through these challenges. How nice, And it's this cool community of folks that you need to know about. Remember that time you went to the party and someone walked over and they said, John, I want you to meet so-and-so. How did that make you feel? It made you feel important. And that's what goes on in that podcast. I want you to meet these people. You're important. You need to know these people.
yeah. No, that is cool. Um, what about, and I'd be interested in, because I think this is important for the listeners, everybody, hey, we got to put a website together. We got to get a marketing plan together.
Mm-hmm.
But before you do that, you've got to have the story, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or would you say, well, you may not have the full story and we can start building the website and these other tools, but what comes first? Or does this kind of happen simultaneously?
No, your messaging comes first. And the real story, marketing and sales needs to be, and they're together. To me, sales is the golfer. They have to perform. They have to hit the shots. They have to get the ball in the hole. Marketing is the caddy. The caddy's supposed to be there looking down the fairway with you and strategizing how to best make you successful, what clubs, what's the win, whatever. That's marketing. Branding is how the audience that follows that particular golfer, how do they relate with them, the clothes or lifestyle. And then positioning is deciding what tournaments you need to be in. But you have to get your messaging first on everything. And so there's a reason your company started. There's a great reason why what you need to sell is a good solution for the folks that you're supposed to sell to. But if you don't get that clear, if you don't understand where your prospects, where they fit in as a hero with your product, how your product or service is going to help them save money, keep their job, get the raise, keep them out of a ditch, solve a problem. That's where you need to come in and go to communicate. You understand their story more than yours. Really, they're the hero and you're just you're the Yoda that's helping them go, here, I got a little thing that's going to help you be successful. Not, I want to sell you this because this product has got the viscosity is so much better than what you're using. Everybody tells them that. Nobody comes in and goes, hey, I know that if you don't solve this, there's some things that you're struggling with here. Maybe you're not going to hit your numbers. I just want to show you how I think I can help you do that and hang out with your family more or whatever it is. And that's truly what I call it, story-based sales. Okay. And if you can quickly discern, ask questions, then all your competitor people are going in wanting to force the sale. How nice is it that you come in and go, help me understand what you're dealing with your job? Where are you struggling? Because here's the thing. If my stuff's not a good fit for you, I'll tell you. I just want to help you be successful. Now, I got a good history, but we'll get to that later. But tell me, what's your specific process? Where are you having to store all your stuff? How are you having to order it? You know, maybe there's some little thing in their system that you could shortcut, but how are you going to know if you just lead with a feature dump or I got to make my quota? Quota is what's wrong with sales. Okay. Relationships. That's the thing. And you need to ask for the sale. Yeah. But first, they need to trust you. They need to feel like you understand what they're wrestling with. And then you need to help them imagine. Here's where the story part comes in. Imagine what success could look like if they adopted your product or service. When they start to imagine it, their brain fills in all the details. Their brain puts in all the right features. You don't have to. But if you don't ask them, so let's do it with you, John. So you're running a great podcast about sales. Okay. Well, would it be incorrect if you would love to have a podcast where people learned and grew and got introduced to a lot of great sales thought leaders, but you could start to monetize this podcast, figuring out a way to supplement your success at your job, but also this is a passion. Who sits down and interviews people unless they really like it? So I'm assuming that would be an outcome that you would like to do. Am I wrong?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So imagine, John, in a year from now that you have the system where you can produce 1 or 2 podcasts a week and not do more work than you're doing now. There's a system on how to do that, but tell me a little bit more. How do you produce your podcast? How much time is it taking you?
Yeah, it does take me a little bit of time. I've gotten better as I've put a couple of, like what you called about the processes in place in the systems, but it still takes me, a little bit of time to put it together, to edit it, and to do all of the things that need to be done to get it to the hosting service. Absolutely. It's time consuming.
And so there's people that listen to this podcast and they go, I'd like to do that, but I don't know how to edit. But you didn't know how to edit before you started.
No, I didn't.
Right. So that's how a conversation would begin with someone who's like, I want to relate with you. I want to make sure that I'm relating with you. And maybe editing's not your deal. And if that was my service, then I would quickly discern, He doesn't need editing stuff. And then I'm going to tell you what, John, I don't think you need what we do, but there's this really cool guy that you ought to interview, and he helps with the promotion of podcasts. How does that make you feel?
Yeah, absolutely. You're
Right.
you're you're a lot warmer.
So, so I'm like a trusted person in your community because I'm not trying to make my quota and convince you why my editing process is better than yours. It becomes an argument, an arm twist. And that just doesn't feel right in any story.
Yeah, that's a great sales lesson, and that's a bunch of sales vitamins right there, but that's a great sales
That's a
lesson in itself.
multivitamin
Yeah,
right
that's a
there.
multivitamin ROI right there. But I got one more question for you, but before we talk about this last question, tell everybody where they can get in touch with you. Tell them your websites, where can they get the book, and
Yeah.
just if they need to get in contact with you and connect with you, where do they need to do that?
Yeah, perfect. So my book, The Golden Toilet, Stop Flushing Your Marketing Budget into Your Website and Build a System That Grows Your Business. We have a website for it, thegoldentoilet.com. You can get
Okay.
it at Amazon, Audible, Kindle. And then our website is roionline.com. LinkedIn is a great place to connect with me and message me, and I can help you, point you in whatever direction you need for the connection with the folks or resources that you're wanting to do. And then we'll be, if you want to sign up, send me an email or connect with me on LinkedIn. But we're rolling out the Quick Start Academy. We have two versions, one for authors. So maybe you have a book, maybe you're starting to write a book. Well, how nice would it be to get your platform squared away to help you promote that book and get more for the investment and hard work that goes into that book? Or you're a business owner, you have a marketing director or a team, you want to get aligned. We have a great little master class. We meet for 10 weeks. We teach you on a Monday, and then you come back on Thursday and we grade your homework and we walk through the quick start process and get all those things clarified that we talked about earlier. And we're rolling that out. That'll be live on our website here next week. And it's just $979. It's a great value, and it totally help you stay out of the ditch and get what you want.
Awesome. Yeah, and I encourage all the listeners, get to the website. I mean, it's well done, uh, very easy to maneuver, a lot of pictures, which I like a lot. It's very friendly.
Yeah.
So get to there. So the last question, if if you were to give someone one sales vitamin
Mhm.
today, whether it be a company or an individual to help them improve, you can only give them one.
Only one.
What's that one sales vitamin you're going to give them?
The sales vitamin I would give is if you can make a commitment that you want to understand what's I call it's an internal struggle. There's obvious things that we want to help with. I want to help you get more podcast downloads. Okay. But there's a deeper thing that I could be more impactful if I understood what struggle are you having in producing these podcasts. And generally it's like an emotional thing or a fear or an insecurity. And so if I can take time, and so my sales vitamin commitment is to take a little time and ask questions until that becomes clear. Generally, the people you work with, there's a common theme of those in your industry. So sales equipment leasing, right? You're dealing with purchasing folks, and what do they don't want to do? They don't want to buy something and then get blamed later that they bought the wrong equipment. Okay, so if I can make that clear that, look, I'm going to help you. I've got these great things that evaluate what is it that you would like to avoid from the last time that you went through this process. What was that thing that got you that you didn't understand? And if you can identify that, there's your sales vitamin, because that's more important to them, because the trucks you lease, the other folks lease trucks. The other folks lease. Your competitors do all that. But who really cares about that person that has a family, has a name, has a career, who really cares about that person? There's your competitive advantage. There's your sales vitamin.
Awesome. That was another multivitamin, I think, right there with that we end with. So, Steve Brown, the host, creator of the ROI Online Podcast and the ROI Online Company. You need to get there. Check this out. I think his information today, the value was great. I appreciate you coming on. I know your time's valuable.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that story and that message and just creating all that is so valuable from a sales standpoint. So thanks for coming on today.
I love it. Thanks for having me. I want to help salespeople be successful. I'm one. We're all one in some way. So yeah, go team, go
Yeah,
sales team.
absolutely.
Get a boss in your last name too. It puts
That's
a
right.
bounce in your step.
Excellent.